Hey guys, it's your girl Baltimore's Baddest Stylist coming to you with a whole nother different type of tutorial, honey. This one is going in the books. I made this lovely, beautiful wig for a client of mine. She's a lovely, loyal client, and I shipped it out to her. She tried to do her own alterations on the frontal, and it did not quite work out. So she sent it back to me for me to correct the problem, and from what I see, I need to take it completely apart and have to do a lot of adjustments and alterations to recreate it for her so it can properly fit and look amazing on her. So what I'm doing now is I am using my seam ripper to rip those seams so I can release the hair from the cap. So I have to do this row by row in order to salvage the hair. I'm not necessarily worried about salvaging the cap or getting holes in the cap. I just don't want to ruin or rip and damage the hair with the seam ripper. So I am being very careful to just rip the seams and keep the seam ripper off of the weft itself. Alrighty, so I'm at the top. And the reason why I am using the razor blade at this point is because my stitch is a straight stitch here. So it's easier to remove that straight stitch with the straight razor because I'm just able to simply lift and nick that thread, and it releases effortlessly, in opposed to me possibly damaging the weft with the seam ripper with a straight stitch. So I don't want to compromise that hair, so I'm just going to go ahead and lightly and gently nick that straight razor against that straight stitch, which is right behind that frontal. I want to be able to use and salvage as much as I can, so I'm taking my time and I am removing it. Okay, so everything is removed. Do you see the shape of that frontal? You can see that it's very uneven and has been cut. It has not been cut properly and evenly, so I'm going to basically do some construction on it and some measuring and alterations to make it new so that she can rock and wear this beautiful wig and it will fit her really nicely. So as you can see, it's still a lot of lace left because she didn't get a chance to wear it. She was making alterations on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off some of this excess lace to make it easier, so when she does apply it the next time, she doesn't have to worry about being overwhelmed with so much extra material such as the lace. So I'm making alterations on the front. I am making alterations on the back, as well as the ear tab areas of the frontal. I just want to create a nice balanced shape of a frontal, as if it's a whole new frontal itself. So it does require precise alterations. And it also makes it easier for me too when I'm recreating it to work with a balanced piece in opposed to a off balance piece. So it takes, a trained eye, measurements, and proper construction to create a new wig for these type of errors. Sorry, not areas, errors. I'm going to be using a mesh dome cap. Alrighty, taking some simple measurements so I can begin to make my marks. I will be marking the start and finish of where I will be starting to sew the lace down and where I'll finish sewing the lace down, as well as measuring those ear tab areas to be sure that it's balanced. Alrighty, so I like to start from the center and work my way down on both sides. So I start from the center, work my way to the right, then I'll go back to the center again and work my way to the left all the way down to the ear tab areas. Do a triple lock stitch. And then we're all done with the frontal piece. Alrighty, after I'm done sewing on the frontal, I do like to go in and cut that extra access cap that's underneath. I like to cut that out because I don't want it to get stitched down or caught up in anything that I'm sewing down, and then I have to go back in and remove it. So I like to cut that out and get that out of the way first to make it easier for when I'm sewing my wefts down. So what you see here is I was a little short on that weft, so I had to grab a small little piece to finish that line out all the way from edge to edge. Now I'm on the second row and I'm working my way around, being sure to curve my cap and being sure to curve my wefts and place my wefts on the line before I begin to sew it down. Just like to keep everything nice and accurate. If you do not follow the lines on your cap, your wig will be imbalanced and it will not fit. And if it does fit, it will be a ill-fitting wig. You want your wig to flawlessly fit and not have any construction issues. Issues with construction can make it difficult for application, which is when you are applying your wig. If it's not constructed properly, it's not going to lay properly when you try to apply it. Place your cap on the sewing machine at the angle that you need in order to keep those lines accurately stitched down. Right here, what I did is, instead of me clipping that whole piece off and losing that piece and throwing that piece of hair away, I just folded it over and stitched it down. You don't want to waste this hair. You know, this is really beautiful, expensive hair. This is the raw Indian hair by TGE. So for me, every strand counts. I'm not just going to throw away my client's hair when I have the skill and knowledge to preserve as much as I possibly can. So as you can see, honey, I done reconstructed this thing. It looks balanced. It's not no crazy shape or anything like that. Everything looks nice and even. I'm just cutting out those extra threads, because you want to cut those out. You definitely don't want to leave those threads in there. When you see a thread, cut it. Alrighty, I'm brushing it out. And you always want to brush from the very bottom and then work your way up. I'm molding it down. After I mold everything the way that I want it, I'm going to go ahead and use these Sandex strips. And the Sandex strips will hold down my mold in place. And then once I'm done with the drying process, I can whip out my 1-inch wand curlers. And wand his hair up really nicely so that my client has a nice uniform curl. long-lasting uniform curl. So what I do is I divide the hair down the middle, and I roll the left back and I roll the right back. Spraying a little bit of shine. And then I'm simply just going to use my fingers to finger comb through it. Finger comb and lightly fluff. I don't want to disturb the curl too much. This wig still has excuse me, to be shipped to the client, so I don't want to disturb the curl too much because it still does have to get shipped and everything, so I don't want to ruin the curl pattern by plucking it out too much, because I still have to put a hairnet over it and ship it out. Oh man, it looks so beautiful. It is so nice. It's so lovely. I didn't have to do a lot of cutting off of the lace on the front, but it was enough that it was enough that it was enough. It wasn't like a whole lot, but it was enough. Those frontals are really expensive. You guys know that, so you want to try to keep as much as the lace as possible, but we did have to cut quite a bit to create a balance and to create a whole new frontal basically, but it all worked out. It looks good. I am really impressed. I know that I can work some miracles, but honey, I know for sure I'm a miracle worker. This wig was so cute. Girl, I had to try this thing on my goddamn self and put it on like, ew. Yes, it's cute. It's gorgeous. I love it. It turned out nicely. And I hope my girl enjoys it when she receives it in a few days. I'm just glad I was able to fix it and salvage it for her. Such lovely hair, such beautiful hair. It's just an honor to be able to challenge myself by being able to see all the amazing things that I can do through trial and error. You can learn so much, even simply from a mistake. And it wound up being a blessing, because I learned something new, and so did you guys too. Happy New Year, guys.